It's been 12 months since acquittal, and so much has passed us by. Such a scattering with evidence, and some blatant flat-out lies. There's a special new press sector, and Hank Breeden is his name. He is a dirty Boston lawyer, and his arguments are lame. He's tried to squash all of our experts, as he has no case to claim. He should have won an Oscar medal to convince the court he's sane. He can lie without a conscience and keep that smirk upon his face. I bet he wears those silky undies, the ones with that jean made of lace. And Judge Beverly Academy is so biased for the state, is wading through 100 motions in a rush to seal my fate. So you can bring in Massachusetts, cause we all ain't got no quit. And we all know that the truth is my car is not the thing John
Morning. Just hang tight. My fucking earphones aren't working again. Oh, that's why. Bastards. Fuck. Just welcome to my day. Oh, the wrong cord. Yeah. Welcome to my week. Helps when you plug them in. Apparently. All right, let me test. Ah, look. That's fucking amazing. See how that works? Good morning, I think. Good day. Good afternoon. Good anything? Oh, good morning, Plows. Mum, lovely. What the fuck? Why do I keep going up? Right. Hello. Oh. Every time I click on a message, I go off the screen. Hang on. Let me see if that works. No, motherfucker. Fucking fuck. What the fuck? I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know why. Yeah, motherfucker. I don't know. Got no fucking idea. And hey, Simi, how you going? I don't know what's going on with my fucking thing, but I don't have the patience or the energy to fucking do anything about it. And it takes me off stage again.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Hey, now I
Good
can't
morning, sir. In a
use
good loud
these.
voice, would you please state your name and spell your last name?
Sure, it's Brian Loughran.
I have
Loughran.
no idea.
In what town did you go?
160 Bolivar Street.
And is that Bolivar?
Yes,
What is 160 Bolivar Street?
it is the DPW garage.
And when you go there, is there a requirement that you punch in?
Yes,
Did you punch in those early morning hours?
yes.
Who was there when you got there?
Other DPW employees and William Walsh.
William Walsh being your supervisor?
Yes,
Were you assigned a specific route those early morning hours?
yes.
Got it.
What route was that?
Route 11.
What streets does Route
I'm
11 encompass?
right there with you, Tricia. You'd be lucky if I'm on screen for very long. Sorry. But I'll be streaming from the bedroom.
Route 11 encompasses Cedar Crest from Dedham Street to the end. It encompasses everything from Kings Road to Chapman Street.
And streets in between as well?
Yes,
And what street is in between Cedar Crest and Chapman?
there would be Spring Lane and Fairview.
What truck or snowplow were you assigned in those early morning hours?
I was assigned truck 30.
And does that have a particular nickname?
Yes, it's considered a Franken truck.
You said Frankentruck,
Yes,
like Frankenstein.
yes.
Why was it nicknamed Frankentruck?
It was a very uncomfortable truck, and it had a lot of mismatch of parts to make it more convenient for the drivers.
I'd like to show you some photos, sir. If I may, please.
Okay.
Mr. Loughran, I've placed 4 photographs in front of you. If you could just familiarize yourself with them and look up at me when you're done. Do you recognize what is depicted in those photos?
Yes, I do.
And did you take those photos
I did.
at my request?
Yes.
What do those photos depict?
They depict the inside of truck 30 or Franken truck.
And is there one that actually depicts the outside from the front as well?
Yes.
Do
Yes.
those photos fairly and accurately depict Frankentruck as it looked on or about January 29th of 2022?
Yes.
I would offer those, Your Honor.
I have no objection to any of the photos.
All right, thank you.
Perhaps they could be marked with the next exhibit number A through D.
Yes. And once that's done, you can feel free to publish.
Thank you. Very much.
It's 211A through 211D.
Thank you. And with the court's permission, Mr. Wolf, if you would publish them one at a time in the order we discussed. I imagine that is 211A, Madam Court Reporter?
Ms. Gianetti, why don't you take the photos so you'll know where they
Oh,
are?
great idea. Okay, could you explain what 211A depicts for this jury?
That is the front of truck 30 Franken truck, and it's depicting
Big
these 2
bastard.
mirrors on the right and left side of the fenders.
Okay. What about the next one, please, Mr. Wolf? Can you identify, this is 211B, sir,
Yes, that's the inside of the Franken truck looking out the windshield.
as if you were seated in the driver's seat?
Correct.
Next photo, please. This is 211C. What does this depict?
This is depicting on the range that I would see sitting in the front seat, looking out the windshield, and depicting how much I'll be able to see.
Okay, and this would be more toward the left side in front of you as you're seated in the driver's seat?
Correct.
All right, next photo, please. This is 211D.
Ah, they've prepped him well.
Explain this to the
Good
jury.
job.
Again,
boys.
I'm sitting in the front seat of the Franken truck, and I'm taking a picture out the right side of the windshield, again, depicting on how much I can see out it.
Thank you. Okay, we can take those down and put the lights on. Okay, so you previously testified that you got to the garage about 2:15 a.m. on January 29th. Could you explain to the jury what do you do when you get there at 2:15 a.m.?
So at 2:15, we do a simple circle check to make sure that there are no defects with the truck. We go ahead and we make sure it has plenty of diesel, and then
Sorry, what mouthful. I'm just going to take some painkillers. And if I'm not feeling any better in half an hour, I'll continue it in bedroom. But I'm all right for them. I'm just cranky, sorry. I've had a shit ton of pain today, so
and I put any supplies that I may have for the night, planning on an overnight shift, and then I get in the truck and I proceed to my route.
And what type of supplies are you talking about, sir?
Any types of drinks, food, anything, snacks.
Preparing for a long night?
Yes.
The circle check, does that mean what it sounds like, where you sort of take a circle around the vehicle?
Yes, we're trying to make sure that the truck is safe, that there is no defects that would hinder the job ahead of it of being able to plow.
And when you did the circle check in those early morning hours, was there anything unusual that you found?
None.
Were you comfortable driving the snowplow that night?
Yes.
And you mentioned that you make sure it's filled with diesel fuel so you're good for the night.
Correct.
Now, what lighting is there on the truck facing outward?
I have 4 lights. I have the initial headlights, and then
Hey,
I have 2
Missy.
plow lights that are on either side of the fenders,
And
and then I have marking lights, and then I have work lights in the back for the sander.
Okay. If you recall the one photo that showed the truck from the outside, were the 2 plow lights visible in that photo?
Yes, they were.
Were the headlights visible in that photo?
Yes, they were.
Could we display that one more time, Your Honor, to have him point that out? Is there a pointer there, sir?
No, there is not.
Okay. Could you describe on 211A where those plow lights are?
Plow lights are just above the grill on the right side and left side.
Okay. And would it be fair to say the plow lights appear to be a clear lens and then an orange lens on either side?
Yes.
And the headlights, sir, where are those located?
They are to the right and left of the grill, and they're underneath.
Okay. And those are
My settings
located
have
just to the right of
changed.
the grill in terms of as we're looking at 211A?
Yes.
Okay, we can take that down and put the lights back on. Now, do you recall whether or not, oh, strike that. You also mentioned marking lights. Where are those?
Marking light.
hey Elizabeth, how you going, sweetheart? I'm just trying to work out what's happening. My studio looks completely different. Like the size of it's different, the resolution's different, and every time I click on a message, I disappear. Oh, something just there you go. That disappeared. Yep, there we go. The fuck. I don't know what the fuck's going on. So I might just put your messages on screen. There you go. Oh.
Lights are on the top of my truck, along with a beacon light on top of the truck.
And what is a beacon light?
Beacon light is exactly what it looks like. It's a light that just illuminates and it goes around in circles.
And the marking lights, what do they do?
They're similar to driving without your headlights. They're just there to mark the truck so that it's more visible for residents who may be driving and not paying attention.
And where does the lighting face those marking lights?
Front.
Okay, so in terms of the light that strictly goes toward the front, you have marking lights, plow lights, and headlights, correct?
Correct.
Do you recall whether, when you did your circle check, you checked out whether those lights were all working?
Correct.
And were they working?
Yes.
When all of those lights are on, how bright is it in front of your truck?
Extremely bright, almost as if I had a spotlight.
And that's facing straight out.
Correct.
What about facing diagonally out front?
Again, as far as the lights will illuminate.
And then on either side, directly out to the side, how far can you see?
About 5-6 feet.
Okay. So you see more when you're looking straight out and then diagonally out, correct?
Correct.
You can see farther?
Correct.
Now, how about in terms of you being situated in the vehicle? How high up is the driver's seat?
Driver's seat is an air ride seat, so it can adjust accordingly.
Where's an air ride seat?
It is adjusted by air, and it can go up or down depending on the driver's.
And how long did it take you to do the circle check, to put your snacks in the car and water, and to make sure the car or the truck is filled with diesel fuel?
About 5 minutes.
All right, so if you get there at 2:15, is it fair to say that you're ready to go on the road somewhere around 2:20 or 2:25 a.m.?
Correct.
And when you did start to go out on the road at around that time, how was the seat adjusted?
I adjusted the seat up so that my knees would hit the bottom of the steering wheel.
How big is that steering wheel on the truck?
It's fairly large. It's larger than a regular passenger vehicle. It's very large.
As of January 29th of 2022, were there any obstructions on any part of the windshield that would prevent you from having a clear view in any direction through the windshield?
No.
Once you got into that truck in those early morning hours, how far could you see in front of your truck?
As far as my eyes would let me see.
And how far could you see diagonally?
Diagonally, probably, again, as far as my eyes would let me see.
All right. Now, you get on the road. When you plow, is there a particular method that you use?
Yes.
Describe that.
I start in the middle of the road and work to the right, angling the plow to the right.
Are you familiar with the term ring row right?
Yes.
Could you explain that to the jury, please?
Sure. Ring row to the right is the amount of snow that's coming off the plow, creating a row. We angle everything to the right so that it does not impede on traffic on the left.
Right. So if you had gone in the other direction, you'd be putting snow right in the opposite lane of travel, right?
Correct.
So you always go to the right.
Correct.
What part of the road, once you hit the roads, do you plow first? What part of the road?
I start at the yellow line and I work to the curb line.
Why do you plow the middle of the road first?
Again, I want to ring road to the right, and I want to be able to give a bigger swath of space for first responders.
And generally, after going up a street or a road that you plow, when do you come back down the same street?
Immediately after I'm done.
Now, you mentioned Route 11, your route that night. You mentioned that it takes you to Cedar Crest.
Correct.
Once you leave the DPW garage to go on your route, Route 11, how long does it take you to get to any part of Cedar Crest?
About 10 minutes.
May we display actually, take Exhibit 49? Do we have access to Exhibit 49?
What is it? Is it,
It's just a map.
okay.
And if we can't put our hands on it quickly, I can just display it on the screen.
Is it in evidence?
It is.
You can put
Okay,
it on the
thank you,
screen.
Ron. If you put up Exhibit 49 and maybe zoom in so we just see, well, I think it is as zoomed in as it's going to go. Is that true, Mr. Wolf, to get, okay. Maybe zoom in on the top part of the map, if you would. Perfect. All right. So are you able to see that map from where you are?
Yes, I can.
And by the way, do you wear corrective lenses?
Yes, I do.
What do you wear?
I wear glasses, and when it's inclement weather, I wear contacts.
So on the night in question, when you went out on your route that night, were you wearing glasses or contacts?
Contacts.
What are you wearing today?
Contacts.
You've testified in a prior proceeding regarding this matter last year, correct?
Yes.
What did you show up with that day?
Glasses.
And what's your difference? What is the difference in your ability to see the screen with your glasses or your contacts?
My contacts makes things a little bit more brighter, allowing my eyes to see better
You have
with
more
the
difficulty
contacts.
seeing distances with your glasses?
Correct.
All right. Any problem seeing that screen here today?
None.
All right. What does that depict?
That depicts my route. Cedar Crest, Dew Lane, Spring Lane, and I'm not able to read the one underneath Spring Lane. Just
Certainly it's a portion of your route, correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, you see where it says Cedar Crest, right?
Yes.
And you see the red dot there?
Yes.
Does that red dot refresh your memory or orient you, I should say, as to what road that red dot is on?
Yes.
And what road is that?
That would be Fairview.
All right. Now, when you hit Cedar Crest Road, are you in that area of Cedar Crest or are you in a different area of Cedar Crest when you first come up on Cedar Crest Road?
When I first come on, I'm coming in at the beginning of Cedar Crest, which is at Dedham Street in Cedar Crest.
Okay. And how long a road is Cedar Crest before you get to the area of Exhibit 49?
I would say that's about a mile and a half.
And how long does it take you to plow Cedar Crest before you get to this area on January 29th of 2022?
About 10 minutes.
All right. How much of that mile and a half or so stretch of road did you plow when you first encountered it?
I plowed the entire street.
If we could zoom out, please. All right. And when you're driving on Cedar Crest Road, are you driving toward that red, Fairview Road that you've identified?
Yep.
Coming in from the right portion of the map or the left portion of the map?
I'm coming from the right side of the map.
All right. And so you start about a mile and a half down the road to the right, which is off this map, correct?
Correct.
And you say it takes you about 10 minutes to get to the area of Fairview.
Yes.
So would Fairview be on your right or your left when you first encounter it?
On my left.
And when you hit Fairview Road that first time, what do you do?
I go all the way to the very end of Cedar Crest, turn
way?
around in the cul-de-sac, and then head back up towards Fairview.
Okay, so you're passing Fairview on your left,
Yes.
plowing further, and then turning around and plowing back.
Yes.
And when you came back to the intersection of Cedar Crest and Fairview, what did you do?
I take a right.
And how familiar were you with 34 Fairview Road on that day?
Very, very familiar.
Having delivered pizzas there for years?
And then having grown up in that neighborhood.
Were you friendly with the Alberts growing up?
Mostly with Chris, but, I was cordial with the boys.
All right. And when you entered Fairview Road from Cedar Crest for the first time on your route, would 34 Fairview be on your right or your left?
On my right.
And can you give the jury your best estimate of when, or what time was it when you first encountered 34 Fairview Road on January 29th of 2022?
About 2:40, 2:45
That would be a.m.?
a.m.
And when you were passing 34 Fairview Road or encountering it at that point, what did you know about who lived there?
I knew the Alberts lived there, and I knew that Brian Albert was a police officer, first responders.
Now, aside from the lighting on your truck, were you aware of whether there were any streetlights in the area of 34 Fairview?
Yes.
Could you describe those?
Sure, there's one before you get to 34 Fairview driveway, and there's one after Fairview's driveway.
Do you have a memory as to whether or not those streetlights were working on January 29th of 2022?
I do not have a memory of that.
But in any case, how much of the lighting of your Franken truck was illuminated at that time?
All my lights were working.
So you're now driving up Fairview
what have I
Road.
missed? I had an old notebook that had random musings, and I took one and threw yes, Talon. Let me just start that so I remember. Oh my god, I was fucking mad. Oh, yeah. Did you like my comment? Or comments? Do you know, have you seen the see, it's taken it off the screen again. What the fuck? Just been sitting here trying to work out how to fix it and I can't. Do you remember the Treehouse murder trial that was down in Florida, in Key West, with Ty Tucker Franklin? Miss Simi? It's a terrible look. Do you know Ty Tucker, Simi? Did you watch that trial? The Treehouse trial down in Florida? Because you won't understand if you haven't seen that that trial. Hello, sweetheart. How you going? Long time no see. You've been busy. Hey, speaking of long time no see, you might know, have you heard from Anna? We haven't heard a thing from her for about 6 weeks, and we've tried reaching out to her in so many different ways, and not a peep, and I'm really worried about her. The Treehouse trial down in Florida. It was Franklin Tucker. Okay. All right. Well, you won't understand it, but anyway, the defendant was pro se, and he was wrongfully accused, basically, and he spent 7 years detained and lost 7 years of his life, and then got out. Was it January this year? Or it was January this year, wasn't it, Elizabeth? Yeah, they pretty much gave him a free pass, time served, because they knew that they couldn't retry him. And he has his own YouTube channel as well, which he'd had prior to going inside to try and to try and show how much police corruption there is and stuff. And yeah, he's been having a few issues with people stalking him. People that used to be quite close with this channel. That, yeah. Anyway, it's worth a watch. There is a playlist of it, and in fact, there's only really 2 or 3 of us that continued to keep up with Ty and keep contact with him between the trials, because it's the similarities between his trial and Karen Reid are unbelievable, except the fact that she's gone to trial the second time. He got, just before it, they actually chased him for a plea deal because it was the district attorney that wouldn't let the prosecutors drop the charges. So they visited him in the jail at night and organised a plea deal, but it was a no contest plea deal, so he didn't actually get found guilty of anything, but he still got a conviction and time served. So it's really hard to explain, but yeah, yes, he is. And there's a few haters out there that have been stalking him, and they were on his stream today. But yeah, that's what that was about.
And 34 Fairview's on your right.
He's doing another one tonight. Oh God, no, that's who this. No. Shit, see, it all goes. What the fuck? Stupid fucking computer. No, it's her that's doing. It's the problem. Yeah. You know. But I was like, cried when I heard that. What? Oh, yes. She died I think it was about 3 weeks after the trial, in February of last year. Yeah. Yep. Yes, she did. It was awful. She was determined to testify. There was no stopping her. Yeah. Paula, her name was. Belmont. Paula Belmont. That's right. So, yeah.
Right. Taking into account the lighting conditions that existed, especially on your truck, how much of the front lawn of 34 Fairview could you see?
I could see all the way to the front door.
What obstructions were there at the time when you first passed the Alberts residence?
None.
Oh.
Were you familiar with the area of the flagpole on the left side of the property?
Yes.
Now, when you are plowing, sir, where is your attention focused?
My attention's focused out the front window, to the right and to the left.
Why?
I am looking for pedestrians. I'm looking for residents that may be backing out, not aware that I'm there, and God forbid, animals.
How much of the time that you're plowing are you scanning the road?
All the time.
Now, as you're passing 34 Fairview, could you see the area of the flagpole at 2:45 in the morning, sir?
Yes.
What was on?
And Palola's mum, that money. She got caught there. They were in the middle of doing the documentary about this, fairy tale romance, how, childhood sweethearts meet up, and she rescues him from jail, blah, blah, blah. And it just so happened that she was down in Florida for some, they were doing some filming, and the camera crew were with them. And at the same time, they got asked about the question of bond and what was happening with the bond and who was paying it. And she had to save face. She had no out, and had to agree to pay the bond to bond him out because the cameras were rolling. But yeah, she never came back to Florida. She never supported him through the trial. Nothing. She basically has told him that the marriage was a publicity stunt, and the things that she did behind the scenes The only reason he went pro se was because she played the attorneys off against Ty, and because only he could fire them because he was the client. So she was saying things to the attorneys to argue with Ty, and she was saying things to Ty to argue with the attorneys, and voila, he fired them and had to go pro se because she didn't want to pay the bill. Oh, there's so much that you just you got no idea.
On the ground on the Albert's lawn at that point in the area of the flagpole?
Nothing.
Did you see a 6'1", 216-pound man lying on that lawn?
No.
Now, after plowing Fairview with the Albert's residence to your right, what do you do?
I go to the very end, take a left onto Chapman Street, back down Chapman Street, and then take a left back onto Fairview.
And are you plowing the whole time?
Yes.
So you get to, in this diagram, Exhibit 49, we don't have to turn the lights off, I think we can see it. You're traveling in a
Yeah, he might.
down direction, correct?
Correct.
And
He might come. Yep.
You would hit Chapman Street, is that fair?
He's
to say that's at the
messaged me
bottom?
on Facebook.
Correct.
You do some type of three-point turn and go back down
I'll
Fairview?
send him an
Yes.
invite. He can jump
How
on
long
if he
does it
wants.
take you to get from 34 Fairview the first time to get to Chapman Street?
Maybe 5-10 minutes.
And then how long does it take you to get from Chapman Street back down so that you're now passing 34 Fairview again?
Again, about 5-10 minutes.
And when you're coming back down, what side of the road is 34 Fairview?
On my left.
When you pass 34 Fairview at that time, are there any obstructions preventing you from seeing the front lawn?
None.
Was there any difference in the lighting on your truck when you were coming back down?
No.
Where is your attention focused when you're passing 34 Fairview on your left?
Again, out the front, right and left.
And how much of that front lawn are you able to see on 34 Fairview when you're coming back down from Chapman?
I can see everything. I can see right up to the front door.
What did you see on the front lawn of 34 Fairview on January 29th of 2022 when you're making the second pass by 34 Fairview in the area of the flagpole?
I saw nothing.
All right, now, you've made an up and down pass, sir, correct?
Yes.
Once you pass 34 Fairview for that first up and down pass, where do you go?
I then go do Spring Lane, and I do that top and bottom.
There you go.
And
I've
is there a
sent him
point
the
in time
invite.
when you come back to the area of Fairview Road?
Yes.
That second time now that you're coming back, I'm counting
Just
the up
emailed
and down
him
pass as the
link.
first time.
Okay.
You with me?
Yep.
That second time now that you're coming back, about how long is it after the first time?
Do you like
About
my
45
pink?
minutes.
So now it's about what
These
time that you're coming for the second time to this area?
3:30.
And when you come back to the area of Fairview Road, this second time, are you on the Cedar Crest side, which is on the top of Exhibit 49, or the Chapman side, which is on the bottom of Exhibit 49?
I'm on the Cedar Crest side.
And when you approach it from the Cedar Crest side, are you approaching from the same direction that you did for the first time up and down pass, or a different direction?
Same direction.
All right, so you're now coming down Cedar Crest again, correct?
Correct.
Fairview's on your left.
Yes.
Did you take that left, or did you do something else?
I did not take the left. At that point, I could have taken the left. I can make a decision depending on how much snow there was on the ground. I ended up going all the way to the end as if the first time.
All right, and you did your same turnaround in the cul-de-sac?
Correct.
And now you're approaching the intersection of Cedar Crest and Fairview again, correct?
Yes.
What do?
I take the right onto Fairview.
How was the weather at 3:30 in the morning when you're now in that area of Fairview and Cedar Crest?
It's snowing fairly hard now.
Do you recall how much snow was on the ground at that point?
Maybe 2 or 3 inches.
And at about 3:30 in the morning, how far could you see in front of you, again, straight and diagonally in front of you,
As far as my eyes would let me see.
as a result of the lighting on your truck?
Correct.
Now, you take the right onto Fairview. Describe to the jury what you see in the road at that point.
As I make my right onto Fairview, I notice that there's a vehicle on the right-hand side, roughly in the area of the flagpole, in front of 34 Fairview.
Okay. And did you make note of what type of vehicle that was?
Yes.
What type of vehicle was that?
A Ford Edge.
What direction was that vehicle parked when you saw it?
It was parked nose going up Fairview.
Toward Chapman?
Yes.
So you're coming up from behind it?
Correct.
You see the rear of that vehicle?
Yes.
And was it parked adjacent to the Albert property, or was it across the street from the Albert property?
Adjacent to the Albert family.
And how close to the area of the flagpole was that Ford Edge parked at 3:30 in the morning?
I can't give you an exact measurement, but looking at the front door, it was about 3 feet to the left of the front door in the area of the flagpole, so in between the front door and the flagpole.
Now, what caused you to remember that there was a Ford Edge parked at 3:30 outside the Albert's residence that night?
For as long as I can remember, they have never parked a vehicle in front of their house. They've always had enough ample parking in the driveway.
What policies or protocols of the DPW
I
are
think he's
enforced when
hiding,
vehicles
Elizabeth.
parked on the street or the road during a snow emergency?
There is no parking allowed. We are supposed to notify our supervisor when there is a vehicle in the way. At that point, the supervisor will make attempt to call the resident or have the police show up at the resident. And then if they can't get the car removed, the car gets towed.
Sir, did you follow protocol that night?
I did not.
Why not?
Knowing the Albert family, knowing that there was a first responder, I gave them respect and opted not to follow procedures.
How did the presence of that Ford Edge parked on the side of the road affect your direction of travel?
I had to go around the vehicle.
How did you maneuver around it?
I had to maneuver to the left, go up, and then maneuver back right into my lane, and then continue up Fairview.
And at any point when you were maneuvering to the left and then angling back to the right, could you see part of the front lawn of the Alberts?
Yes.
Were you able to see any part of the area around the flagpole?
Yes, as I maneuvered back right.
And when you maneuvered back right and saw that area, what, if anything, did you see on the ground in the area of the flagpole?
I saw nothing.
All right. So now you've passed 34 Fairview again. Where do you go?
I go back to the top of Chapman, and again, I do a left and a right and head back down Fairview.
Another three-point turn.
Correct.
So now you're doing your second up and down, correct?
Correct.
All right. So you then enter Fairview again, coming back down from Chapman. And how long does it take you to get back down to the area of 34 Fairview?
Again, about 5-10 minutes.
Now, you are now approaching 34 Fairview, and it's on your right or your left this time.
Again, it's on my left.
What, if anything, did you see in the road at that point?
Again, I saw the Ford Edge in the road.
Now it's on your left side?
Yes.
Did it appear to be in the identical position as when you came up the street toward Chapman?
Yes.
How much of the area of the flagpole were you able to see this time as you're coming back down from Chapman?
I was able, it was obstructed, so I wasn't able to see as much as the first time, but I was still able to see the flagpole.
What did you see on the ground in the area of the flagpole at now 3:35, 3:40 in the morning?
I saw nothing.
All right, so now you've done your second up and down pass, correct?
Correct.
Where do you go?
I go back out onto Cedar Crest, and I continue to do the rest of my route.
Now, at this point in time, did you do more of your route or spend more time away than you did between the first and second time?
I did more of my route staying away from Fairview.
And about how long did it take you before you came back to the area of Fairview Road?
About 3 hours.
So what is your best estimate of this third time that you're now approaching Fairview Road?
About 6:15
And that'd be AM?
a.m.
On January 29th?
Yes.
Now, this time, when you approached Fairview Road, did you come from the Cedar Crest side or the Chapman side?
I came from Chapman Street side.
And when you turned, did you turn left or right from Chapman Street to get down to Fairview?
I turned right.
And once you turned right, did something unusual happen?
Yes, I noticed there were blue lights behind me, forcing me to pull over to the side of the road.
Did you recognize the vehicles that had, or vehicle? I didn't ask you if there was more than one, but
Yeah.
did you recognize what type of vehicle or vehicles there were?
Yes, they were police vehicles.
Which vehicle was traveling more quickly, the police vehicle or Franken truck?
The police vehicles.
What were you doing with your snowplow after the police passed you?
I continued down Fairview.
Coming down Fairview, did you actually lose sight of the police cruiser that had passed
Check
you?
your Facebook.
How many side
Elizabeth.
streets are there when you're coming down Fairview from Chapman Street?
3.
What are they?
Wyndham, Old Ridge Hill, and then Carriage Lane.
Now, you're now coming down Fairview Road. What did you notice ultimately in front of you in the road?
I noticed the police cars had the road blocked off and preventing me from going to Cedar Crest.
And with regard to the lighting on those police... With regard to the lighting on those police vehicles as the road was blocked off, could you describe that for the jury?
Sure, they had all their blue lights on, and they were parked, blocking the road, the entire road. I couldn't get through.
How well lit was it in the area where the police were?
Very well lit.
So you're now confronted with a blocked road. What do you do?
I turn around at Carriage Lane, and I continue to do that road.
Have you been following this trial, Palola's mum, like every day? You've been watching it to watch the actual how Hank is behaving. Like his behavior is disgusting, disgusting. In fact, I've put like I think three or four shorts up just of little things that I've found, and there's so much more. Actually, I was halfway through doing another one. That's right. I forgot about that. Yes, he's a piece of work. Dirty.
And then I exit Carriage Lane and go to the left.
And going to the left,
And
you're
I
sending back
finished.
towards Chapman Street, correct?
Correct.
I think that's
And once you leave the area of Fairview Road, how long does it take you to come back down to Fairview Road to finish the
I
plowing
think-
that you didn't do the first time?
As soon as the police were able to leave the area, I was able to finish that area.
Do you
Oh,
recall what time you
I
finished
think I put
your
it
shift
up
on
as
January 29th?
I think I put it up as a video on my channel, I believe. Hang on. Yes, the one that's got Nicholas Barris in it. I was watching Uncivil Law, and he actually pointed out the exact, like, because I couldn't. Hank's so sneaky, you don't realize what he's actually doing or what he's saying. It's like very underhanded. So, but Kurt from Uncivil Law it broke it down and explained it, which is what that video is. Why didn't
I honestly don't know. I don't know. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
No worries. Do you remember if it was daylight out at that time?
It was daylight.
Okay, now, sir, in the aftermath of that storm, when was the first time you were approached by anybody connected with this investigation on either side, if you recall?
About 2 weeks.
Who was it that approached you at that time?
First name is Paul, and he described himself as a private investigator for the defense team.
Prior to hearing from the defense private investigator, had you ever heard from anybody from any police department whatsoever?
No,
Do you know who Michael Proctor is?
I do.
Follow that.
And did Michael Proctor ever call you or contact you at all in those 2 weeks?
No,
Where did the defense investigator approach you, if you recall?
I know.
he approached me at my place of work, which was at the Canton Ice Rink, Metropolis Ice Rink.
And what were you doing at the ice rink?
I was operating the Zamboni.
Now, without telling us what you told him, did you speak to the defense investigator?
Yes, I did.
And at some point, did you do something with the defense investigator?
Yes, I met him for a second time at the Kennedy School, and then we both drove my route.
Skipping ahead to the next year, sir, 2023, were you approached by law enforcement officers who were not Canton Police or Massachusetts State Police?
Yes,
Without telling us what you told them, did you speak to them?
yes,
Before speaking to them in 2023, had you ever heard from former Trooper Michael Proctor or anybody from this investigation from the State Police or Canton Police?
no,
At some point, did you hear from the State Police?
yes,
That was after you'd already talked to the defense and to these other law enforcement officers who were not State Police or Canton Police?
yes.
And sir, how clear is...
Oh, Simi, can you write down your question for the for the database for me? I didn't write it down, and I deleted the live chat from that particular day. Don't know for what reason, but so I can't find it.
Is your memory about what you saw or didn't see in the early morning hours of January 29th of 2022 in the area of 34 Fairview?
Aw,
The first up and down
that's
path,
lovely,
the second up and down
Palola's
path,
mum.
and then the third time you came.
Very strong.
I have no further questions. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much.
we need to get a photo of you. If you want to send one to my email, we're making up. We've got like an avatar. Where is it? Oh, I added Jenny in. I have to upload it. But yeah, we've made an avatar of the OGs. Like a, where is it? No, I think I've deleted it because I've got to upload a new one. But yeah, if you want to email me a photo, we'll add you to it, Don.
It's in the exhibit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, Mr. Brennan, whenever you're ready.
Oh, really? Do we have to?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Have you and I met before?
No, sir.
This is our first time speaking?
Yes, sir.
Sir, you say that your memory from that night is very strong. Would it be fair to say that before today, you've talked about this case many times?
Yes,
You've interviewed with different law enforcement people as well as civilians.
looking
and
for
attorneys,
it.
haven't you?
correct.
I have not been one of them.
No, you have not.
And is it fair to say that when you've recounted that night as far as times and what you saw, many times your memory has changed? Is that fair to say?
It has
No.
not.
You spoke to a private investigator on behalf of the defense shortly after that night.
Yes,
Was that the first time that you spoke to somebody about what you had seen or not seen?
yes,
That is the first time?
yes,
Inevitably, over time, you have given statements to at least 4 different people, correct?
Correct.
And you've testified in court under oath.
Correct.
During the pendency from that night until today, it's fair to say there are many times where you have been intimidated, isn't it?
No.
You've been threatened.
Nope.
You were aware, sir, that
You
were
tell
being
him.
threatened by an online blogger to expose you.
I was not.
Yes, as you sit here today, you have no awareness in the history of this case that you were being threatened by an online blogger.
I was not threatened by an online blogger.
Was the online blogger threatening or saying that he would expose you and tell personal things about you if you weren't helpful?
He was not threatening.
Let's remove the word threatening. Was the person communicating and making clear to you that if you didn't testify in a certain way, there would be some consequence to you? Anytime from when you first spoke to the private investigator until today, were there communications made to you by an online blogger that there would be consequence for you if you didn't testify in a way that was acceptable to them?
No,
You listened, of course, didn't you, to podcasts that were about you?
I did not.
People told you about them.
Yes, they did.
When friends told you about them, you knew who that person
He's a
was that was
fucking
making those
asshole.
claims, correct?
Correct.
You were well aware of the person had a very strong and large
Who the hell did I
social
say
media
this?
presence.
I didn't know how large or what his presence
Got it.
were, but yes, I knew he had a blog.
Well, you know now because you follow that blogger now, don't you?
I do follow him, yes.
You pay for a subscription?
I do not.
Did you get one for free?
I did
Oh.
not.
And in following
Fuck
that
off.
blogger, you know full well the power that person has to.
He's such an ass. There you go. We up there. Ta-da! We just need Blow's mum in there now. My question was asking her how it would have ruled. Okay, cool, sweet. Yep. Thank you. How cool's that? Oh, and that was the other one I did. That was why I wasn't. Oh my god, I had the worst day. I had a court hearing in the morning for my protection order, and it was you have to log in at 10, and you'll be called anytime between 10 and 4. So I couldn't sleep, and by the time it got to 5 o'clock, I crashed. But I set my alarm, thinking I set it for 10 p.m. to get up and have a shower and get ready, but it was 10 a.m. And I honestly slept for that 17 hours straight. Did not wake up once. Oops.
to get attention from the community to harass, correct?
Yes.
And so during the pendency of this case, not only were you aware that you were being pressured to testify a certain way, you also knew there'd be consequences.
Pretty sure there was an objection there, Bev.
The premise of that question is not accurate.
So he can answer it.
You knew there was pressure for you to testify a certain way in this case, didn't you?
I did not know I was being required to testify a certain way. I was also at the time dealing with the loss of my wife. I was not paying any attention to any social media.
Sorry for your loss, but you are aware during the pendency of this case.
Oh,
that
you
there
are
was
not
pressure
sorry,
on
you fucking
to
wanker.
testify in a certain way. Isn't that fair to say?
No,
Sir, you received a call from that blogger, didn't you?
I did.
And during that call, did you know the person was recording you?
I did not.
You later learned that the person recorded you.
I did not.
Did you know that your conversations were spread throughout the community online?
I was.
Sir, some of those communications or inquiries were claims that you would be exposed for personal matters if you didn't testify a certain way, weren't they?
No.
Yeah, I think I've got a
Never
chest
been
infection.
I've seen him. I haven't met him.
Have you ever spent time with him?
No, I have not.
You're still a follower of that blog.
I am.
When you follow the blog, do you read anything or do you watch it?
No, I don't do much anything towards the blogger.
As you follow it, you can see there are oftentimes articles about you.
No,
Haven't you ever been encouraged to do the right thing?
no,
Haven't you ever been celebrated after you testified in a way
Fuck off,
favorable
Hank.
for one
Yes.
side or the other?
yes,
And so when you were being celebrated, that certainly took off any pressure that there would be consequence, didn't it?
Ask it differently.
When you were celebrated for testifying a certain way, did you find that to be encouraging?
I'm going to allow it.
Oh, you're a cunt too.
I did find it to be encouraging.
Oh, sick
but
of this.
I did
Fuck
not
it.
want it. I don't think I deserved it. All I was doing was my job and telling the truth.
Did you enjoy the attention that you got?
I did not.
Did you pose in photographs with people who support one side or the other?
I did.
And when you were in those photographs, are you saying that you didn't enjoy the attention that you were receiving?
Fuck off,
I did
Hank.
not. Again, I was trying to be polite and trying to avoid any confrontation that may come from something if I said no.
Well, did anybody from the district attorney's office ever suggest they would confront you or punish you if you didn't testify a certain way?
No.
How many friends contacted you about what was being said before you testified? Pressure. How many people told you about that?
I couldn't tell you. All my friends were telling me.
So you were hearing a lot of noise or information from your friend group and community about what was being said about you.
Yes.
And this was before you testified at the first trial, sir.
This was before.
Sir, you work hard, don't you?
I do.
You work many different jobs.
I do.
You try to be a good citizen.
I do.
You are not looking for attention.
I am not.
It was brought to you.
It was brought to me.
You wish you never had that attention, don't you?
Yes.
Because you just want to live your life the way you want to live it rather than have people you don't know attacking, criticizing, or intimidating you.
I'll allow that.
Could you repeat that, please?
So would it be fair to say that you simply want to live your life the way you've been living it without outside people attacking or pressuring or threatening you?
Yes.
On June 15, 2023, you were contacted by the defense private investigator, weren't you? And you may not know the date. Were you contacted twice by the private investigator?
I would need to know what time frame we're looking at.
Fair enough. By the way, the blogger that I speak of, do you know if he is friendly or supports one side over the other?
I know he is friendly towards one side, yes.
Okay. The side sitting in the back of the room?
I would say the defense team.
You've interacted with a private investigator hired by the defense.
Yes.
Have you also interacted with any of the attorneys?
Yes.
Which attorneys have you interacted with?
Mr. Yannetti.
Have you contacted or have you spoken to any other attorneys other than Mr. Yannetti?
Just Mr. Yannetti.
How many times have you spoken to Mr. Yannetti?
Again, what are we talking? First trial, this trial?
The entire time, from that night until today. Can you remember how many times that you've spoken?
About 5 times.
How many times have you gone in to be interviewed by him?
4 times?
During those interviews, were they spaced out over the course of this case?
Yes.
What was the purpose of those interviews?
To go over my testimony.
When you went over testimony, were you ever shown prior testimony?
Yes.
Were you shown prior reports?
No.
Were you shown a prior investigator's report?
Yes.
Were you shown a prior report by a law enforcement agency that is not the state police and not Canada?
Not by Mr. Yannetti. I saw that first document for the first time during the first trial.
When you were discussing your testimony, was there a discussion about the fact that the times that you gave the private investigator were different than the report from that law enforcement agency?
Could you repeat that question, please?
When you were preparing the trial in those meetings, was it brought up, did you discuss that there was a difference in your memory, or at least in the reports, between what you told the defense private investigator and what you told that other law enforcement agency?
No.
Were you aware that there was a difference between the different statements interpreted in your memory as to time?
The first trial, yes.
When you were with the defense preparing for trial, did you go over your testimony?
Yes.
Did you go over questions and answers?
Yes.
Were you ever subjected to a make-pretend cross-examination about issues that were important in this case?
No.
Were you ever pointed to any particular issues that were important to talk about in this case?
No.
When you did the questions and answers, were they written down or just a conversation?
Can you repeat that one, please? I'm sorry.
When you went through the questions and answers in preparing, practicing for your testimony, were they written down?
So ask me to.
When you were preparing for your testimony, were the questions and answers written down, or was it just speaking?
Just speaking.
Those 4 times that you met, is that a guess, or was it 4 times?
It was about 4 times, yes.
Could it have been more?
No.
And during those 4 times, was there anything different other than going through questions and answers about testimony and preparation? Was there any other subjects you talked about?
There were none.
Did you ever receive any compensation, sir?
I received none.
Do you know whether people were sending you compensation that you didn't receive?
No.
You don't know?
I never received anything.
Were you given anything to bring home with you so that you could remember past testimony or some of the questions and answers that were going to be asked?
No.
How long were your meetings in preparation for your testimony?
About 45 minutes to an hour?
Were they all about the same time, or were they different? When you came into court last year, it's fair to say this is after you became aware of essentially being targeted, correct?
You can answer that if you can. Can you answer that, Mr. Loughran?
I can. I don't ever felt like I was being targeted.
This was after you received all the information from your friends and people in the community that you were being attacked.
I'll allow that.
He's such a prick.
Again, I don't feel like I was being targeted.
Are you concerned after this case what happens with the blogger that you follow?
No.
You talked about your meeting with the private investigator. The first time you met him, do you remember that meeting?
Yes.
Do you remember where you met him?
I met him at my place of employment.
Did you go anywhere with him that day?
No, I did not.
You had a conversation with him and you spoke about what you had remembered from that night?
Yes.
Do you remember when you spoke to that private investigator, you weren't sure how many times you went up and down Fairview that night? That you had said 2 or 3?
No, I told him I went up at 2:30 at 2. I told him at 3:30 I went up 2. Went up and down. And I told him about 3 hours later I went up and down. Excuse me, I went down and wasn't able to go around the police cruisers and had to turn around at Carriage Lane.
Okay. You mentioned that you believe you told the private investigator that you went up and down at 2:30. Do you remember when you spoke to the private investigator you actually said 3 o'clock?
I don't remember the 3 o'clock.
May I approach?
Yes.
And before I do you remember you said that when you went on your second pass, it was around 3:15?
I told him I went up Fairview between about 2:40 to 2:45, and I said about 45 minutes later I went for the second time.
Okay. Now you had said 2:30, and you just now said 2:40 to 2:45, and then you said 45 minutes later.
Yep.
Okay. Do you remember telling the private investigator that when you think, or you said you saw a Ford Edge, you were actually still on Cedar Brook, not on Fairview passing by it, but you saw it from the street at Cedar Brook? Do you remember telling him that?
I don't remember.
Impressed.
Secret. I don't remember ever saying that.
Okay. May I approach?
Yes.
I'll show you a copy. This is a report that you didn't write, so I don't want you to read it. I want to show it to you and see if it helps remind you of what you told the private investigator that day. You can look at any part of this, but what I'm asking you is whether or not you remember telling the private investigator that when you saw the car, you weren't passing on Fairview, you were up on Cedar Crest. That's the question I'm asking. So I'd ask you to look whatever part you want, but I'm going to point out the part to you. When you're done, you only have to just look up and I'll get to ask you some questions about your memory, okay? So I've directed to this part, but you can look at any part that you want, sir. Are you done, sir?
Yes.
May I approach your honor?
Yes.
Sir, do you now remember when you were speaking to the defense investigator about seeing a car? You said that about 3:30 to 4 a.m., when you were plowing Cedar Crest Road, you looked toward Fairview Road and saw a small SUV parked in front of the house. Remember telling the PI that?
I never remember telling him that.
When you spoke to law enforcement, not the Canton Police or the State Police, you understood it was important to be as accurate as possible?
Yes.
And you understood, at least with that law enforcement agency, if you misled them in any way, it could be up to a 10-year penalty?
Yes.
When you spoke to them, did you take that interview very seriously?
Yes.
Try to be as precise and accurate as you could?
Yes.
And when you spoke to them, obviously, like anybody you had in mind, there could be serious consequences if they felt misled.
Yes.
You try to be honest with them,
Yes.
provide them your best memory and good faith.
Yes.
And this was shortly before, well, actually, this was May 24th, 2023, correct?
Correct.
When you met, there was more than one person there from this agency?
I believe so.
Was there potentially 2?
There was 2.
And when you met with them, they asked you about when you began working that night.
Yes.
You told them 11:30 to midnight.
I never told him that.
And so as you sit here today, your memory is you did not tell those law enforcement agents that you began work at 11:30 to 12?
We had a 2:30 start time.
I understand, but I'm asking you,
I never told him. It was always 2:30 start time.
when you spoke to them, do you remember telling them the first time you were out near the area was midnight?
Nope. No.
When you spoke to those law enforcement personnel, were they taking notes?
I believe so.
Have you ever seen their report?
The first trial I did, yes.
Who showed you that report?
It was shown to me by Prosecutor Lally.
You think Prosecutor Lally showed you that report?
It was shown to me.
And do you remember telling those 2 law enforcement personnel that you believe that there were emergency vehicles, ambulances, or police cars in front of Fairview at 3 to 3:30 a.m.?
I do not.
Are you saying that you did not say these things to them, or are you saying that that's not your memory?
That's not what I said.
And so you're saying that's wrong. You're denying
Correct.
you made those statements.
Correct.
At the time they say that you told them there was emergency vehicles there at 3 a.m., that is the same time that you told the PI that you saw the Ford Edge, around 3:30 to 4, correct?
About 3:30 is when I saw the Ford Edge.
It was dark out that night, wasn't it?
Correct.
There are no street lights down near that flagpole area of 34 Fairview, is there?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Was it on that night?
I can't tell you honestly if it was.
You testified at trial? I'm sorry, at a proceeding last year?
I testified that there were. It was asked to me that there were not any streetlights, and I answered it in the affirmative way. And living in that neighborhood, I saw that there were actual
Hey,
streetlights.
Jenny, how you going,
testified
sweetheart?
At a proceeding last year, didn't you?
Yes,
When you testified at the proceeding, did you meet anybody from the defense close in time to that proceeding?
I don't know, when we met or how close to the proceedings it was.
Do you remember being prepared before you went into trial last time?
Yes,
By?
by Yannetti, excuse me.
Do you remember telling the defense private investigator that you made your final pass at 6:30 a.m.?
I remember I told him it was about 3 hours going down Cedar Crest and was not able to go to the end of Fairview due to the first responders.
At trial last year, do you remember saying it was 5:30?
I did.
And today you had said about 6:15.
Yes,
You weren't timing anything on a watch for times, were you?
I was not.
You were not accounting in any way for time whatsoever when you were out that night, were you?
No, I was not.
When you're providing times, are you trying to use your best memory?
Yes,
Do you recognize that you have a differing memory on times of what you did that night?
no.
You talked about your view from the tow truck and that you have a bunch of lights on it. On the tow truck, you had mentioned that your vision to the side was 5 to 6 feet.
Can you rephrase that, please?
Yes, of course. You said when you were driving your tow truck, you could see forward and sideways.
Okay. I don't want to be. I don't drive a tow truck.
My apologies. My apologies. Snow plow. You said you can see forward and sideways.
I can see forward, I can see diagonal, and I can see right to left.
When you look right to left, you said you could see about 5 feet.
Correct.
Do the lighting conditions affect how well you can see?
No.
Does the weather?
Yes.
When you're plowing, are you ever looking at the street in front of you?
Yes.
Are you looking at people's front yards?
Yes.
And so, what did you see as far as the front door of the Albert House that night? Was it open or closed?
It was closed.
Were lights on?
I can't answer that for sure. I don't remember if there were lights on.
How about the neighbors on the left? Were you looking at their front line?
Yes.
Did you see if their lights were on?
Again, I didn't recognize if their lights were on.
Do you look at every neighbor's front line up to the door as you're driving in the snow plowing?
I look to the right and to the left, and my eyes will graze to the yard. Yes, I will look there.
You were saying you have a specific memory of looking at the Albert front yard all the way to the door. Do you have a specific memory of looking at the other neighbors' yards to their door?
Can you repeat that, please? I'm sorry.
Yes, you said that you looked at the Albert house all the way to the door.
Correct.
Do you have a memory of looking at any other houses all the way to the door?
Yes.
Okay. Which house had a dumpster in front of it?
Oh, you're a
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to a dumpster. Dumpster wouldn't be in the front yard.
Are you sure on your route there's no dumpsters in anybody's front yard?
I can tell you there was a dumpster this week.
No. I'm more interested in January 29, 2020.
I can't answer to that. I don't remember.
A dumpster, a 15 by 20 foot dumpster, that would be bigger than a man's body, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would
You're
be.
such an asshole.
So you have no really specific memory of the other homes in the neighborhood that night?
I mean, I looked. I saw. I didn't see a dumpster that would have definitely stuck out.
Okay. You said you had vision as far as your eyes could see.
Correct.
What does that mean?
Means if there were, my eyes were, as long as they're open, I can see as far as they will let me see.
Is that dependent on lighting conditions, darkness, snow?
Correct.
That night, did you have any difficulty paying attention or driving?
I did not.
Did you have a small accident that night?
I did.
Okay. What did you hit?
I hit a portable basketball net.
Was that part because of the weather conditions? You didn't have a good opportunity to see it?
No, I definitely saw it and just did not judge enough.
You said that you went up and down the road a couple of times. When you were asked to describe the car that you said you saw, when you first spoke to the defendant's private investigator, you didn't give any detail about the type of car, did you?
I told it was a Ford Edge.
Okay. When you first spoke to the investigator, you used the word Ford Edge?
I did.
Did they?
Can we have anyone for some additional dipshit award points? I'm sure there's got to be someone out there that can add to this tally.
Bring you to a parking lot at some point?
They did.
When they brought you to a parking lot, did they have you go out in the parking lot and look at a Ford Edge?
They did.
And when they had you go out with the Ford Edge, did they have you identify that as the type of car?
Yes, they did.
And when you did that, how many cars were in the parking lot?
We had a hockey game, so there were several, at least 100, 150.
Oh!
Who pointed you to the Ford Edge?
I pointed to it.
Did the investigator take you to the Ford Edge?
No, he did not.
It was just an open parking lot, and he asked you to look around to see if there happened to be a similar car?
No, I told him a Ford Edge. He wanted to make sure I knew what a Ford Edge looked like. I pointed to the Ford Edge, and he was satisfied.
So after you said a Ford Edge, he brought you to a parking lot to point out a car?
We were at my place of business. We just walked out the door.
Where was that?
At the Metropolis ice rink.
The rink?
Ice rink, yes.
Did you then meet the investigator later on at a school?
Yes, I did.
And who did you meet at the school?
I met Paul again.
And what was the purpose of that?
He wanted to go through my route.
You want to go through your route?
Correct.
And then, did you choose to meet at the school?
I did.
You did?
I did.
And why did you choose the school?
It was an easier landmark for the gentleman to get to, and it was minutes from my route.
Did you know that former Trooper Proctor's sister worked there?
I had no idea.
You said last year that when you went by Fairview, did you say that you would buy your final pass at 5:30 a.m.?
No.
Okay. May I approach?
Yes.
Ah, wrong one.
33.5. Sir, when you have contact, you also wear reading glasses?
Yes. I can't read things up close.
Understood. This is trial testimony, testimony from June 21st, 2024.
Mhm.
And you were asked, do you recall what time it was that you wound up back on Fairview? You said, I don't honestly recall what specific time. Yes?
Yes.
And then you were asked, sure. Approximately, if it was 3:15 to 3:30 that second time, what would be your best estimate of the time when you came back? And what did you say?
Say about 5:30.
And so even last year, you were having some difficulty remembering the times, right?
Objection.
Were you having difficulty last year remembering the times that you were on Fairview?
No.
When you said you were on Fairview last year at 5:30, you didn't see anything on the Albert front lawn at 5:30 a.m.?
I wasn't on Fairview at 5:30 a.m.
Okay. Were you asked last year about your travels on Fairview?
Yes.
Okay. When you asked about, recall, it was time you wound up on Fairview, and you said you didn't remember. Do you remember that testimony?
I do.
Is that true testimony?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you had some difficulties in your memory of when you were on Fairview when you testified last year. Isn't that fair to say?
No, it's not fair.
And then you were asked approximately if it was 3:15 to 3:30 the second time, what time did you come back?
And I said, if I were to guess, I said 45 minutes
Two,
later.
Hank, one,
Did
Viv.
you say, I would say, if I had to say, it would have been 5:30 up Fairview?
That time was incorrect. It was 6:15. I couldn't go down any further due to the police presence.
So your testimony last year, you understandably made a mistake about the time, correct?
I did.
And it's true, isn't it, that you really have somewhat foggy memory about the times.
It is not.
That time of 5:30 is very different than the time you told the agents when you met them, the law enforcement officials that weren't from Canton or the state police. That was very different than when you told them 3 to 3:30.
Very different.
And it's different than the 3:30 to 4 timeline that you gave the defense private investigator the first time you spoke to them. Correct?
Correct.
And it's different than what you told the jury today, that it was 6:15.
It's different, but it's not.
When you plowed that night, did you have any reason to look for somebody who was lying on the side of a yard?
No.
Did you have any expectation somebody would be lying helpless on the side of a yard that night?
No.
If you had seen somebody, certainly you would have helped.
Correct.
When you said that, when the private investigator asked you where you were when you said you saw the Ford Edge, are you saying that you didn't tell the private investigator that you were on Cedar?
I don't remember telling him I was on Cedar Crest. I do remember telling him that I had turned onto Fairview and saw the vehicle.
Cedar Crest in a storm at night is quite a distance from the flagpole at Fairview, isn't it?
No.
About 300 feet?
Roughly.
Difficult to see under those conditions?
No.
Could we have Exhibit 71 stream 0 at about 6:17 a.m., please? Could you stop it there? you see that street light?
I do?
Okay. At the end of that road, past the street light, is Cedar Crest, correct?
Correct.
Is that a fair depiction of the elements that night around that time?
Yes.
And in this case, there's further illumination with the car that's facing us?
Correct.
That wasn't there, was it?
Correct.
You said after you saw law enforcement, did you come down Fairview after you saw law enforcement?
I was on Fairview already when I saw the law enforcement.
Did you drive by Cedar Crest again to go back and forth and watch what was going on, or did you go on your route?
I went on my route, which included Cedar Crest.
Did you keep driving by because you wanted to watch, or did you just leave and do your regular route?
I went and did my regular route.
Could I have 61927, please? And could you play it? If you could back up a little before 61927. Is that weather consistent with what it looked like to you?
Yes.
Is that you there?
I don't know if that's me. Yes, that's me. That is me.
Could we go to 63245, please? Is that you again?
That one, I can't tell if that was me again.
Could we go to 63514, please? Was that you?
I don't see it. I don't see the truck. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Could we go back to 63512?
That looks like to be a pickup truck. That does not look like my truck.
63745, please? And that's you again, right?
Again, I can't tell you for sure if that was me.
Those were not your red and orange lights consistent with the earlier ones that went by?
What I saw the first time was the reflecting tape off the body of my truck.
Can we go to
I have
seven?
a plow guy
Oh,
that
does
is a
it?
contractor that we work tandem together.
Okay.
And was he out there
I
that
didn't
night as
read
well,
it,
going
so
by
there you
Fairview?
go.
Correct.
Okay. Did you ever tell the private investigator about him?
Yes, I did.
7 o'clock, 22 seconds, please.
I just asked it to base it on the law, basically.
Is that you, sir?
I can't say for sure.
7:15, 45 seconds, please. Do you recognize that plow?
Again, I do not.
7:19 and 55 seconds, please. Was that you, sir?
That was me.
How long does your route take?
It's hard to say. I mean, as long as it's known, it can take as long as it takes.
Well, if you're going to do a pass, how long does an entire pass take?
If I were to do from Cedar Crest to the end, it would take probably 10 minutes. If I were to do the entire route, I'm not cleaning up. I'm just giving it a pass so people can get through. It could take about 3 hours. It could take 4 hours.
When you mentioned Brian Albert on your direct examination, had you talked to the defense about Brian Albert in your preparation for testimony?
No,
You knew some of the Albert family,
I know the entire Albert family.
and you know Brian Albert as a police officer?
Yes, I do.
Why is it that 3 times in your direct testimony you characterized him as a first responder?
Because he's a
didn't-
police officer. They're first responders.
Did anybody ever suggest to you to use the terms?
I haven't seen Andrea Burkhart's stream, and Look, he had some merits, apparently. I'll have a. The conclusion was that, based on the available transcripts, his argument for mistrial with prejudice had limited legal merit. While he raised legitimate concerns about the strategic impact of the DNA evidence on the defence's case, the legal standards for declaring a mistrial, particularly with prejudice, are quite high and were not clearly met in this situation. I've actually just asked it to outline what those legal standards are. The prosecution appeared to have a reasonable basis for introducing the DNA evidence on cross-examination, and the judge's ruling to deny the mistrial motion was consistent with general legal principles regarding cross-examination and expert testimony. The defence's concerns about chain of custody investigative flaws were more appropriate for challenging the weight of the evidence rather than grounds for a mistrial. The ruling reflects the legal principle that defendants are entitled to a fair trial, not a perfect one, and that cross-examination of expert witnesses properly includes challenging the foundations of their opinions. But yeah, I've just asked it to tell me what they were. So the requirements are legal criteria for declaring a mistrial with prejudice. It's an extraordinary remedy that not only terminates the current trial, but also prevents the prosecution from retrying the defendant on the same charges, double jeopardy. The legal criteria for granting this severe remedy are quite stringent. 1, prosecutorial misconduct. The primary legal standard comes from the US Supreme Court. The prosecution engaged in misconduct that was deliberately intended to provoke the defendant into moving for a mistrial, or the prosecutor acted with the specific intent to subvert the defendant's double jeopardy rights by forcing a mistrial when the case was going poorly. This is an extremely high standard requiring proof of intentional provocation, not merely negligence or overzealousness. 2, bad faith or egregious government conduct. Courts may also declare a mistrial with prejudice when A, government conduct is so outrageous that it shocks the conscience of the court. What about the public? Actions demonstrate a pattern of deliberate misconduct intended to gain unfair advantage. Well, there's one right there. Constitutional violations are severe and intentional. 3, irredeemable prejudice to the defendant. The defendant must demonstrate that the misconduct has caused prejudice so severe that it cannot be remedied by any means other than a dismissal. A fair retrial would be impossible due to the nature of the misconduct, and the prejudice cannot be cured through less drastic remedies like jury instructions or exclusion of evidence. 4, double jeopardy considerations. Under the Fifth Amendment's protection against double jeopardy, once jeopardy has attached, which is when the jury has been selected, so that's what it's. And the mistrial is declared for reasons attributable to prosecutorial or judicial misconduct. Well, rather than a manifest necessity or at the defendant's request without prosecutorial provocation. 5, the state-specific standards. In Massachusetts specifically, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court follows similar principles to the federal standard. Courts evaluate whether prosecutorial misconduct was deliberate and intended to subvert the defendant's constitutional rights. Massachusetts considers whether the misconduct created irredeemable harm to the defendant's right to a fair trial. Practical application. In practice, mistrials with prejudice are extremely rare because the burden of proving intentional prosecutorial misconduct is very high. Courts generally prefer less drastic remedies when available, and there is a strong public interest in allowing criminal prosecutions to reach completion on their merits. Mr. Alessi's case, his motion faced significant challenges because it would have been difficult to prove that the prosecution's introduction of DNA evidence was deliberately intended to provoke a mistrial rather than being a legitimate, if contested, cross-examination strategy. There you go. Do you think AI is biased? No. No, not at all. Did you read the report that I had about Hank's questioning on Dr. Russell in her voir dire. They aren't biased.
The phrases first responder when you were describing Brian Albert.
No one did. Those are my words.
Since your testimony last year, have you received any
Wow.
more
It's fucking freezing here,
focusing
Jenny.
or targeting of harassment?
Ask it differently, Mr. Brennan.
Since last year when you
Ask it
testified,
differently, Mr.
have
Brennan.
you received any recent aggression towards you for testifying?
Hello, Kathy.
Have you had any further
Welcome.
focus or problems?
Welcome, welcome. I don't know why my screen keeps disappearing every time I click on it. Can you guys see that? Like, if I press on every time I press on someone's chat, my screen disappears. Like, is it happening on your end? Like that? I can't see. I can see myself and the chat question, but I can't see my stream feed at all. Now I can. Is Kathy, is this you from weren't you on like a co-host of a YouTube channel to do with trials? And we never saw your face, but you were called Mama Bear, I think. What was the name of that? The Docket, yes. Is it you? Is it the same you? Cool. Are you still running the docket? Is it still going? Yay! Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It's nice to have another creator in the comments section. And feel free if you want to come up and have a chitty chat on the stage. Let me know and I'll post the link in chat if you have opinions you'd like to share. That goes for everyone else as well. Oh, why did that? I hate it when that happens. I pressed the I pressed too far above the play. Now I've got to remember where I'm at. Will we pass this?
Was that you, sir?
That was me.
7:20.
How long did your route take?
It's hard to say. I mean, as long as it's on, it can take as long as it takes.
Well, if you're going to do a pass, how long does the entire pass take?
If I were to do from Cedar Crest to the end, it would take probably 10 minutes. If I were to do the entire route, I'm not cleaning up. I'm just giving it a pass so people can get through. It takes about 3 hours. It could take 4 hours.
When you mentioned Brian Albert on your direct examination,
You should make your own. Have your own channel, darling. If it's something that interests you, either that or come and help me as a co-host on my podcast.
had you talked to the defense about Brian Albert in your preparation for testimony?
No,
You knew some of the Albert family,
I know the entire Albert family.
and you know Brian Albert as a police officer?
Yes, I do.
Why is it that 3 times in your direct testimony you characterized him as a first responder?
Because he's a police officer. They're first responders.
Did anybody ever suggest to you to use the terms or the phrases first responder when you were describing Brian Albert?
No one did. Those are my words.
Since your testimony last year, have you received any more focusing or targeting of harassment?
Ask it differently, Mr. Brennan.
Since last year when you testified, have you received any recent aggression towards you for testifying?
No,
Have you had any further focus or problems?
no.
I'll strike that.
I have no further questions.
Oh, thank fuck for that.
You were asked by Mr. Brennan about whether you saw a dumpster that night. Do you recall that line of questioning?
I do.
In the aftermath of January 29th of 2022, was a dumpster all over the news for the next 3.5 years?
Not that I'm aware of.
You were asked about going through your route with the defense investigator and giving a statement to the defense investigator.
Yes.
How soon after January 29th of 2022 was that?
2 weeks.
Were the events fresh in your mind at that time?
Yes.
Finally, oh, actually not finally, I got 2 more points, but they're both brief. You had mentioned that that night you actually misjudged and hit a net.
Yes.
Can you describe the basketball?
It is a lot of work. You're right. It is a lot of work. But podcast is different. It's set up. It's done. You just pick a topic that's current in law at the time, or something specific that you want to focus on. And yeah, 99% of the time, I do all the prep work and all the graphics and all the who's the what sits. I just need someone to come up and chat with me.
Apparatus that
No,
that
never
you
ever.
what part of it
No.
is. But describe what that looks like.
It's got a base with wheels on it. It's portable, so you can move
Absolutely,
it in and
Cassie.
out. It's got the basketball frame.
Too
It's got the
smaller
backboard
dish,
and then rim.
Okay, so this is not a pole that was cemented into the ground.
Correct.
So perhaps we're all familiar with it, the black base that maybe you put sandbags on,
Correct.
that type of thing to keep it in
Yeah.
shape, but it does have wheels?
Correct.
All right, and you mentioned the net. The net is the rope netting that comes down.
And
correct?
YouTube
There's
is
also
a
a hoop that
cruel
keeps the net in place,
taskmaster.
and the pole.
Correct.
And the base.
Correct.
Of all those things, what part did your Franken truck actually catch?
It caught the net in the little bit part of the frame, of the frame where the net was.
Something that you saw from the beginning, you just misjudged the distance.
Correct.
Now, finally, with regard to the 5:30 testimony that you gave last year.
Yes.
Did you also testify that the last pass that you tried to make when the police were blocking the scene was about 3 hours after that 3:30 second up and down?
Yes.
So why is it last year that you testified that it was 3 hours later, but you came up with the time of 5:30 as the final time?
As he's asking me these questions, I'm trying to do the math in my head. I'm sorry, math is not my strong suit.
What time was it when you made that final pass, sir?
6:15, 6:15, 6:30.
I have nothing further.
Of course, there's got to be a
You mentioned you're
retest.
trying to do the math in your head. There's no reason why you would specifically remember certain times on each pass other than trying to remember and give an accounting, right?
Could you rephrase that, please?
Sure. You don't have your watch out on a certain schedule that you have to pass a certain street at a certain time.
Correct.
You weren't marking your times to some event when you were driving up and down the street that night, were you?
No.
So you're trying to go back with your memory and piece it together the best you can.
Correct.
And that's why you're giving estimates, yes?
Correct.
When you spoke to those law enforcement officials, not Canton, not state police, and you said at 3 o'clock you saw first responder vehicles. That was based on your memory, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was based on your memory.
Not at 3:30.
Right. Do you know that there was a car similar to a Ford Edge in front of 34 Fairview around 6 a.m. that morning?
I wasn't able to get in front of Fairview Drive, 34 Fairview, at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Have you ever met Kerry Roberts before?
I have not.
Counsel just asked you if there was a lot of media about this case, and you said that there was.
I
Did he just ask you a question about whether there was a lot of attention on this case?
Objection.
Did he just talk to you about everything that happened after this case, all the attention on this case?
Objection.
Remember his question about all the attention after this case?
he asked specifically a question about the dumpsters.
And he said that wasn't subject to a lot of attention, was it?
Correct.
Right. But this case was.
The case itself, yes.
The people involved in this case were subject to a lot of attention.
Correct.
And you spoke to the defense investigator after this case as far as attention is concerned. You remember speaking to the investigator on June 5th, 2023.
Yes.
And do you know coincidentally that is the day that the blogger put out the articles on you, accusing you of not doing the right thing?
Objection.
May I approach?
Yes.
Showing you a document. Let's take a look at that document. What day is that document dated?
June 5th, 2023.
Without reading it, that document talks about you.
Correct.
And your friends and people in the community talked to you about this article, didn't they?
Not specifically this article, but they were sending me stuff that were being printed about me, yes.
Why don't you take a little look at what's said and tell us whether that's the same type of information that was being conveyed to you with intermediaries.
Can you ask that question again, please?
Answer. Was this some of the kind of attention that you were receiving on June 5th after you spoke to the defense investigator?
Yes.
like from Cypher?
I think I know what I've done. I think I have saved this setting. Whoa. Okay, that went full screen. As both a dynamic dynamic camera grid and a media slot. I'm not sure. So I'm going to delete that. Okay. So dynamic camera grid. Which is where? I no comprende. All right, well, I'll try and save this bit. If at first we don't succeed, try again. Oh. Bring it forward. Come on. That's better. And save.
All rise for the court, please.
I said. Ah. Yeah. It's actually really, really interesting. And I would be more than happy to chat to you about it and explain it, because it's what I'm fairly OCD, so I I kind of know it almost inside out and could recite it word for word. I've been doing a lot of prep for this trial because I followed the first trial, and I wholeheartedly believe that she is innocent. So, and that's not just based on my opinions. That's, well, I suppose it is, but having worked in the medical field for a long, long time, and the injuries, there's not even close to anything that could be slightly compatible to what they're trying to say at all. And the other point is, they haven't proven it beyond a reasonable. They haven't proven shit beyond a reasonable doubt yet, apart from the fact that she'd been drinking. That's about it. That's the extent of it. And now he's just being a dirty, sleazy dog with fleas to try and, well, he's got to earn his, $500,000 I think they paid him, or he's up to so far. Yeah, see, I can't get into the Daybell doomsday shit. Nah, I can't. I can't. Where is it? But yes, yeah. Can you, if Simi knows your email address or whatever, she can email it to me, or you can email it to me. I'll put my email address up online. Kathy, at least if you've got questions. Yes, I have. So I have I purchased this software, and it's a specific database. It's a transcript analysis database, and it's based on the legal system, like the US legal system. So basically, I have uploaded every single day from day one of trial one, every single transcript into this database, and so I can ask it any questions, and it will pull up factual answers, whether it be comparing two witness statements, or what are the merits. Simi's last question was, what are the merits on Alessia's mistrial? Why, and was Bev's ruling correct? And yeah, it was. So yeah, it'll analyze anything. It will it can predict things. Like I could put in there now, based on the the evidence presented, well, I will actually, based on the evidence presented to the jury so far, what is the likelihood of a conviction? And it will tell me and explain why. So, yeah, it's really good. The only way for me that I can watch. Oh, yeah, I can't watch her. I can't. Yes. Teresa, do you remember the, I don't know if you saw it, but I used to listen to it a lot, the Docket YouTube channel. Kathy was Mama Bear on there. And it sounded like you were doing most of the work anyway, Kathy. Sorry. Mm. Yeah. Been there, done that. I say no more. Oh, we're in sidebar. Woo! Hang on. We haven't heard our tune today, or one of them.
It's a little swoop, a sneaky little glide. The message is simple, like and subscribe.
One.
Sidebar swoop, it's in your sight. Like and subscribe. Oh, don't be shy.
Artwork is my my creative outlet. Yeah, see, there's definitely a an uneven distribution of knowledge and yeah, just you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay. We have a big break and then we go back to there.
All right, Mr. Brennan.
You girls.
Sorry, I have just a few more questions.
Stop it.
When I had mentioned about meeting the defense investigator on June 5th, 2023, I misspoke. It was June 5th, 2024. Does that sound more like it?
Yes.
June 5th, 2024, was that shortly before you testified before?
Yes.
You were asked on redirect examination whether any dumpsters got any attention about this case. The question I was asking is, did you notice things that might have been open and obvious? And you have no memory of an actual dumpster in the area, correct?
Correct.
If I could have on the screen Exhibit 37, still photo from that clip. May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
No, you may not, you fucktard.
Wrong at school is how great Marcia is at this, or how wonderful Marcia did that.
Arca, arca, arca.
Yes, I narrated it.
And sir, do you notice the big red dumpster to the right side across from Fairview?
Oh my God. You need to be in that big red fucking dumpster. Oh,
Yes.
Okay, you can take that down.
I'm so over Hank Brennan.
Sir, when we started the break, I asked you some questions. I showed you a document, asked you if you were aware what was inside that document, and you mentioned that was around June 5th, 2023. That was before your last testimony in this case.
Yes.
And you knew
I
that
wish.
a person or persons were putting out private pictures of you online.
I did,
I did
get
notice.
an offer
And
actually
those private
today.
pictures, you didn't give anybody permission or want that attention, did you?
I did not.
In fact, it wasn't just some private pictures. It was pictures taken from a number of different times in your life, correct?
Yes.
You never gave anybody permission to do that.
I did not.
You didn't want people talking about you or asking you questions. That was none of their business, did you?
I did not.
And it was embarrassing that you were being made this public spectacle when you had done nothing wrong, correct?
Ask it differently.
Was it embarrassing what they were doing to you?
I wouldn't say embarrassing as more as aggravating.
In fact, they were calling your boss. Yes?
I'm going to allow that.
Yes.
And you mentioned how hard you work.
Yes.
Plow, you even used to deliver pizzas to 8 years.
Yes.
Only anytime you work and try hard, don't you?
I do.
And when someone's calling
I
you
do
a
like
boss,
the action. It's got good
giving
action.
undue attention to you, didn't it create some concern that could affect your livelihood?
I did not think it was going to affect me in that manner.
In addition to dragging you into this, because of you, your brother was dragged into this, wasn't he?
Ask it differently.
When you were getting this information about what was happening, you learned that they were also dragging your brother into this because of you, correct?
I'll sustain that.
Did you learn that information was coming out about your brother?
I knew my brother was dealing with other issues regarding this case.
And certainly, you're close with your brother.
Yes.
You care for your brother.
Yes.
You did not want to upset anybody and have more attention brought onto your brother, did you?
I did not.
And there was an attempt to link your brother to one of the others, in fact, correct?
Yes.
As well as you.
I don't know if I was being linked.
Did you know the information of trying to so-called out you about the fact that you work for Chris Howard?
I'm going to sustain that the roots first.
Were you aware when your friends and family were telling you?
What was that? I'm going to sustain that the roots first. What?
Between you and the others.
No.
What did the CC do
Yes.
that?
Yes.
You care for your brother.
Yes.
You did not want to upset anybody and have more attention brought onto your brother, did you?
I did not.
And there was an attempt to link your brother to one of the others, in fact, correct?
Yes.
As well as you.
I don't know if I was being linked.
Did you know the information of trying to so-called out you about the fact that you work for Chris Howard?
I'm going to sustain that the roots first.
I'm going to sustain that the roots first. Yes.
No.
And were you aware when you were telling you what was happening, that it was attacks on you personally, like finances and things like that?
Yes, I was aware of that.
And certainly, that is pretty discouraging when that is happening and you've done nothing wrong, isn't it?
It was, again, aggravating.
And this was all happening before you came in and testified last time at trial.
Correct.
What's that got to do with it,
After
fuckface?
you testified, things got better.
I wouldn't say better. It's gotten a little more easily manageable.
You were no longer being harassed, you were being embraced.
Correct.
And
Yes.
showing you a photograph, do you recognize that?
I do.
Is that part of the embracing process after you testified a certain way last time?
It was after I testified, yes.
Like how you added a certain way.
Portion of this.
So I need to see what that is. I'm just sidebar and make this very brief, please.
He just makes these fucking